y'all was let me make sure I got it right first. Got on the right one. Let me get this right. Cases in cams with Daniel Cunningham. Make sure I got this right. Okay, good. I got it on the one I want. Kelsey Fitzsimmions. I'm gonna talk about Kelsey Fitzsimmons today and the whole dealings with her baby daddy, and also the dealings with the prosecutor doing a whole bunch of overreach. Um, Shout out to Crime and Court with Heather. Let's get it.
Kraken is the easiest way to start exploring crypto. Sign up in minutes with no complicated steps and zero stress. Just a few taps.
Now.
Hopefully, everybody
So,
can hear this.
and she hasn't seen that baby since June 30th, had not physical contact. So keep that in mind. So yeah, she is a mother to a now 1-year-old child who was born February 2025. She was diagnosed with postpartum depression, and she was seeking and completing treatment while she was while this situation took place. So who is Justin Alayan?
Okay,
That's how
former
you pronounce it, and
fiance.
that's how I'm
I
going to
don't know why I
pronounce it,
thought they
whether it
was
is or not.
married.
He was her fiance, as you can see in the image there. So he is Kelsey's former fiance. He is the father of the 1-year-old, and they lived together in North Andover at the time of this incident. Their relationship history includes the fact that they were engaged post-pregnancy, so they got pregnant first, it seems, and then got engaged. He was described, or the relationship, I guess, is described as supportive initially, but later in the relationship it got strained, especially around Kelsey's postpartum depression. His role in this whole case is that he is the alleged victim who filed the 209 restraining order claims, wanting a restraining order against her and custody of the child. He claimed multiple assaults, and he gives a list of multiple incidents that never were worthy of reporting to police up until this moment. So seems like there was a pattern, and it never escalated for him to go to the police until just now, and then
Why?
he immediately gets custody, which makes no sense. That's not how the courts are supposed to work either. If he wants a restraining order, she has to have time to come and contest it, be heard by the court. The court's supposed to hear both sides, not just one. So why the baby was taken from her instantly, I don't know. But he's the one that claimed all these assaults,
that normally
these threats,
doesn't
and
happen.
saying that she was behaving erratically. There's a little timeline snapshot. There's a extended timeline that we're not going to go over, but for the purposes of this episode, we're just going to do kind of condensed timeline. So before the breakup, between 2018 and 2024, Kelsey's career was all about going to school, criminal justice, going to the police academy. She was a correctional officer. All of these things, this was her life. She was making something of herself. She was trying to be something, right? She was trying to become a cop. She was trying to make her life better by putting certain things in place so that she could be set up for success. September 2023 to February 2025, she has a relationship with Justin. During this relationship, she gets pregnant, she gives birth. they get engaged at some point after the pregnancy, and then she does give birth, and then she has postpartum depression diagnosis. June 28th, 2025, there is a bachelorette party that these two go to, and there is allegedly some escalation of some violence, some threats, whatever he says. So we'll read through his statement to police, actually. And at this point in time, it escalates. There's a fight, at least an argument. Maybe it gets physical, and the two break up. He is a firefighter, by the way, for North Andover, and she is an officer for North Andover. So kind of like and they're a really cute couple. If you look at them together, like, you think they're really cute, but you never know what's going on behind closed doors in a relationship, and seems like there was abuse one way or another in this relationship. Either you believe it was her, and you believe all of Justin's stuff about how she was abusive, or you believe that the abuser is weaponizing the criminal justice system against her and using that to threaten her, to manipulate, harass, intimidate, all the things, right? To take her child away. What's worse than that? So, I think he's a big bully. That's what I think. So, June 28th, they break up. June 29th, the next day, Justin files a 209A order. It is granted ex parte, meaning the other side doesn't get to be heard. So he asks for custody as well, and he gets it. So he gets temporary custody, and her firearms are to be surrendered when she is served these papers. So what you're seeing in this image, and we're going to watch the video in just a second, what you're seeing in this image is Kelsey from behind. She's holding her baby, who is, I believe, 4 months at the time. And, yeah, I think that's right. And this is one of the officers coming in to serve her this restraining order and saying, you need to turn over your baby to us and all your firearms. The firearms that she just got back, by the way, with her treatment for her postpartum depression, she just got it back. Now they're taking them away again. And of course, she's probably concerned about her job too, because they're taking her firearms away. So you're messing with her livelihood, the way she makes money. He is, by doing this to her. So next, June 30th, the very next day, so they break up the 28th, the 29th, Justin gets the order from the court without the other side being heard. June 30th, officers serve the order, come to her home, and this is when the shooting incident takes place. The officers say that she was pointing the gun at herself, or I'm sorry, she was pointing the gun at another officer, and then she claims that she was pointing the gun at herself. So there are two conflicting stories. In the end, she was shot by another fellow officer, a friend of hers, so she thought, and this guy wounded her. She got a collapsed lung, broken ribs. She also had treatment for damaged liver and diaphragm. So the diaphragm, keep that in mind, the diaphragm, which is what you use to take in a big breath. Keep that in mind. So I'm going to switch screens here real quick, because this is the video of, so it's, I don't know what kind of video, if it's Ring or whatever the other ones are. I can't even think of others at the moment. Whatever it is, it's her home surveillance video. So this is her own video on the porch overlooking the door where people come in. So this is where they're coming in, and let me turn on the volume here so you can hear. I don't think there actually is volume, so I don't think that matters, but let's play it. And it says, viewed by the T. Bradle and BradleLaw.com. So this is discovery that they received
Hello, Choose.
on October 12th, 2025.
Good
Coming up on
afternoon.
this episode of Mind the Game. All right, let's talk about these playoffs. I still think, okay.
On October 12th, 2025. We was just waiting at the door, waiting for her to come. She was busy, obviously, with a young infant. Here she comes around the corner. You won't see the shooting. There's nothing gruesome here, so don't think that. You just see that they come in and they're gonna serve her. He's got, back up 1 second. He's got a folder in his hand, so those must be the papers that he's gonna use to serve her with. And then they go outside of the lens, outside the view of the camera, so we can't see anything other than that, but that is them entering the home. And that's all that we have of that clip. But it is time of day. Oops. Hold on.
Okay.
Time of day when this occurs, it's June 30th, 2025 at 4:49 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the video. Yeah, so that's the home security footage from Kelsey and Justin's house at the time. So charges were filed against Kelsey. Like I said, this makes no sense. She was the one that got shot, and she also has the charges against her. Where are the charges against the officer that shot her?
Yeah, exactly.
We're
Why was
calling
the
him a
officer
hero?
not charged?
Whatever. So charges were filed against Kelsey, and then they were reduced, and she's had bail battles. She's had her bail revoked, so she spent over 100 days in prison. And we have a trial day set that is incorrect. It was originally set for February 9th. It got pushed back. So trial was set for February 9th, 2026. Now it's March 26th, 2026. I'll get to it. It's at the end. Original versus reduced charges. So a grand jury eventually reduced Kelsey's charges in late August. So on August 8th is when the charges were originally placed on her. So the primary charge was armed assault with intent to murder. And then secondary charges, 2 counts of assault with a dangerous weapon. I don't know why you have 2 counts. I don't know what that means. Why 2 counts with a dangerous weapon and an armed assault with intent to murder? I don't know. But that's what they were charging her with, which seems very excessive, right? Especially if she was doing it to herself. Seems extremely excessive if she was holding the gun to herself.
Yeah.
And then the grand jury reduced her charges to make the secondary charges that she had, that now becomes her primary charge, which is assault by means of a dangerous weapon. And only 1 count. And then dropped no bill by.
Why does she have an assault charge if she was trying to self-harm? She was trying to harm herself, not the officer. So I'm not understanding why was she charged?
Grand jury. So the secondary charges were dropped. So that's a plus for her. I mean, that's a huge plus for her, and it's a huge win when you're talking about, did a jury find her guilty of anything? Really, I mean, that grand jury doesn't find guilt; they find probable cause. But you know what I mean. All right. So the allegations and initial incident.
Mm-hmm.
This bachelor party combo that happened up in Maine, and the breakup. So on June 28th, 2025, this party happened.
At choose all that. See all that right there with the charges. That was the ADA that did that. That was either the ADA or the DA that decided to put those charges on Kelsey, even though the body cam footage shows that she was trying to harm herself, not the officer. Uh, so I don't know why they would give her this charge. I don't get it.
Party happened in Maine. Kelsey is apparently intoxicated, but then again, probably all of them are. So pointing out that she's intoxicated versus all of them, or who was or wasn't
It's
at
a
the
waste
time,
of time.
it's kind of. Usually people drink at bachelor parties. That's all I'm saying. Sure, Kelsey. Alleged assaults on Justin and friends. Supposedly, we have her hitting Justin and threatening him or making threats. I don't know. We'll read Justin's account of it, but it is only his word. We don't really have corroboration. So Justin's claims is that Kelsey was erratic. She had ideations to take her own life, and she made statements to take her own life. And he left this bachelorette party and then went and filed the 209A the very next day. And the defense says that much of the complaints are exaggerated for the advantage of him trying to get custody. So much of what he complained about, much of the things that we're going to hear from him, the defense is saying is very much exaggerated for his advantage, for him to be able to get, no other reason to be able to get custody, really.
Greetings, this is Michelle from Chrome Tech. Thank you for signing up for an account and choosing Chrome Tech as your supplier for
No other reason than to be able to get custody, really. To paint Kelsey in a bad light and to say he's afraid of her and he needs to have the child, to have custody of the child. So the exaggerated claims in the filing, and then also Kelsey, what's being overlooked is that Kelsey was in a mental health crisis. Prosecution, the cops, the judge, everybody's overlooking the fact that she was having postpartum depression. Nobody wants to admit that could affect your behavior. And it doesn't mean that she is dangerous or harming anyone. And she was getting the help that she needed. So taking her child away from her was not the option. In fact, it probably broke her because she probably was starting to feel better and feel somewhat like herself again.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you take her child away from her, you've completely emotionally broken that woman. Unfortunately, that's what you do when you take a woman's child away. You are doing it for spite, to hurt her. At least that's what I think. And he even put in filings that he wanted child support from her and that she should sell her house so that she could pay that, so that he could take the earnings from that, because he doesn't think she's going to be able to pay child support. Like, not only does she owe me child support, but I don't think she's ever going to be able to pay me, so could you make her pay me all up front with this house? That's not how it works.
Nope.
But when you're petty and when you're a total jerk, I guess that's what you do. You know, I have my own experience of an abusive ex, so it's just force of control and manipulation and intimidation from an ex. And I absolutely believe that this Justin knew the criminal justice system enough. I think he probably has some cop friends here, and maybe they've helped him put together enough of a case to try to basically annihilate Kelsey, and he gets custody and everything, and leave her with nothing because he's a petty bitch like that. Okay, so the 209A service and shooting. The officers arrive on June 30th, 2025 at her home to temporarily give Justin custody. Justin is there during this incident. Firearms were ordered to be surrendered. The Commonwealth and Justin, the Commonwealth side is
I'm gonna let this play. I'll be right back in a second.
trigger click, and they hear the wreck slide, and then they say that it was all self-defense for Patrick Noonan, every one of them. The defense says that she never pointed the gun at anybody else but herself. It was only at her own head. The gun didn't fire because the chamber was empty. And there was no intent to harm any of the officers. It was all part of the postpartum depression and the fact that Justin, this jerk, was trying to take her child away from her. After their relationship just ended, and she's probably already sad about that because they were getting married, and now he's just like, let me take your kid away from you. So it's really a he said versus she said narrative, and both people have differences in their narratives. So Justin and the prosecution, who has just blindly taken Justin's word for everything, the cops, everybody just blindly accepts Justin's word for it. He says that Kelsey was violent and has a history of violence, has thrown punches at him in the past, has threatened to harm the baby. There's a whole bunch of it. We'll read through it. That he says that she pointed the gun at the officers, and that there was intent to harm, or at least that's what the prosecution side and Justin says. So she says, obviously, it was a mental health crisis. She was going through postpartum depression. She was struggling with the idea of not wanting to live anymore because her child was being taken away from her. She says there was no assault on the officers. It's all exaggerated claims for custody. He contrasts no injuries from alleged assaults. So whatever assaults she supposedly enacted on him, we have no injuries or proof of injuries or any kind of police report or incident report. No, nothing to corroborate that she was violent with him ever. The texts, though, apparently show affection post-incident, texts between the two of them, and shooting as self-harm versus attack. So basically, yeah, one side says it's self-harm, one side says she was trying to maliciously attack the other officers. Justin's accusations, and right now we're going to read through his police report, or at least the statements that he read to the police. This isn't his report, these are statements that he made to police after this incident took place, and he gave his statement.
Back to school doesn't mean starting from scratch. At Purdue Global, the learning you have gained through experience you already have matters, which means your degree may be closer than you think. Whether it's years of managing a team or volunteering in your community, assessment of those skills can move you closer to your degree. Because Purdue Global is fully online, classes work with your schedule.
Gave his statement.
Okay, I'm back.
So, CIC is going to be referred to here. I think that's just the unit of officers that are interviewing this particular, either the unit or his title, the acronym for his title, whatever it is. It refers to law enforcement. So CIC interviewed Justin Alayan, Mr. Alayan, for the purposes of this investigation. Mr. Alayan is an employee of the North Andover Fire Department. Mr. Alayan met Officer Fitzsimmons in September 2023. Mr. Alayan was engaged to Officer Fitzsimmons until very recently. Mr. Alayan told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons and him fell in love very quickly. He stated Officer Fitzsimmons became physically and verbally abusive towards him. Alayan says that did, however, soon quickly change with her erratic behavior, her unstable emotions, her violence, her aggression, and her actions that I did not agree with, that I tried to calmly communicate with her over time, and that progressively kept going in that same direction where she continued to be erratic, continued to not have any control over her emotions, and be very physically and verbally abusive. So I just want to point out that they have obviously some kind of audio or recording of this interview. They have no body cam, no recordings of the incident where they shot Kelsey, but yet they can put on their camera for an interview afterwards. Just mirror someone. Sure. Okay. Mr. Alayan and Officer Fitzsimmons are the parents of a 5-month-old child, so he was 5 months old at the time. On June 28, 2025, Mr. Alayan and Officer Fitzsimmons were having a joint bachelorette party in Bethel, Maine to celebrate their engagement. Mr. Alayan told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons was unhappy with him for several reasons on June 28th, such as him spending time with the groomsmen, his sisters being invited to the gathering, and his sisters arriving 2 hours late to the gathering. I'm kind of on Kelsey's side on this. It seems like a jerk. And your sisters are 2 hours late to your bachelorette party. That's pretty rude. And says something that's like a statement, you know, that maybe you're not accepting of Kelsey, perhaps. Maybe that's part of it. And being mad at someone isn't really, you know, worthy of arresting them and taking their child away. So just because she's mad at him doesn't mean put out a court order and get that child, get custody of your kid that you have together. Mr. Alayan recalled, sorry, I didn't know where I left off. Mr. Alayan recalled people were playing lawn games and enjoying themselves. He stated that Officer Fitzsimmons became increasingly intoxicated and displayed erratic behavior. Mr. Alayan continuously asked Officer Fitzsimmons to stop drinking. Mr. Alayan stated Fitzsimmons' behavior became extremely erratic. Alayan says, quote, and again, I noticed he's becoming extremely erratic. She starts running around and repeating the same words over and over again. She's yelling, fuckity fuck, fuckity fuck, fuckity fuck. I'm sorry, but that's funny. Maybe it was being funny. Laughing and just maniacally saying these terms, and she ends up saying crusty crab, just over and over again, repeating.
Weird.
What a crime. Take her child away, why don't you? Because she said those things. Seriously? These are not real concerns, buddy. Officer Bennett, the one who is asking the questions here, says, where was that coming from? Her phrases. I have absolutely no idea, he says. And was she expressing them towards an individual or just, no, she was running around, walking around, saying these statements, and among others that I can't recall the exact verbatim she was using, but she was just overall acting erratic, not making much sense. She was definitely highly inebriated, as were probably most people at the party at this point, and at one point she came outside. I was outside with a few of the people on the porch. I had to remove myself from being inside and I'm just gonna go remove myself for a little bit. She came outside and she wanted everyone to come out inside and play drinking games. And I think she wanted me to come inside and strip for her. Huh? again, even if all of this is true, which I don't believe, it's not a crime, and none of it is worthy of taking someone's child away from them. I disregarded this request to strip, apparently. I'm like, I don't want to play drinking games. I don't. I'm not in the mood. I don't want to do that. Like, we're just hanging out. Like, let's just take it easy. Like, we're just hanging out. Like, let's just take it easy. Mr. Elaine stated everyone else at the party was casually drinking. He continued to attempt to calm Officer Fitzsimmons down. At around 9 or 10 p.m., one of Officer Fitzsimmons' bridesmaids, Katrina Caruso, found Mr. Elaine. She told Mr. Elaine, "I cannot deal with Kelsey. She is out of control. I cannot handle it." But with what context? Like...
Yeah, what's the context?
It could have been anything. That could have been like, well, you know, Kelsey's a partier that likes to party into the night, and I just can't, I can't handle it. She's out of control. I can't handle it. It could have been said in jest. So context really matters.
It does.
Let's move on. At around 11 p.m., the party started to wind down. Mr. Elaine went upstairs to brush his teeth and then entered his room. Officer Fitzsimmons followed Mr. Elaine to the room and was upset with him. Mr. Elaine told CIC his recollection of what took place in the room. He stated Officer Fitzsimmons acted aggressively towards him. He felt uncomfortable, so he went downstairs. Officer Fitzsimmons demanded he return upstairs to the bedroom. Mr. Elaine stated that he was concerned about what might happen behind closed doors due to Officer Simmons' history of physical abuse towards him. So now he's just going to throw that in there. I was afraid to go up there and talk to her because she might hit me.
Gaslighting.
Or you might say that if that was something that you knew you needed to say to get your...
Now, either this is gaslighting or mutual combat. Again, we don't know. All we can do is assume. This is either gaslighting or mutual combat. Let's keep going.
Custody of your child away from the woman you supposedly loved and wanted to spend the rest of your life with. Mr. Lane told CIC his recollection of what took place in his room. He stated Officer Fitzsimmons acted aggressively towards him. He felt uncomfortable. Oh, I read that. Okay. Elaine's quote here. She was visibly and verbally upset. She was in the room. She started to swear at me. She was calling me names, and then she tried to briefly, initially, initiate intimacy, which I outright did not. She was too drunk. Did not want any part of that. I wanted to more put her to bed and remove myself from the situation at that point. And her emotions were all over the place. She was very angry. I did try to remain calm. I did not raise my voice. I tried to ease her nerves, and I just kept her, just keep her calm. After using the restroom, I did immediately. I opened the master suite door and I went back downstairs. I went back downstairs to remove myself for the uncomfortable situation, and I went next to my brother Brendan and my lifelong friend Aiden Ahern. She quickly did follow me downstairs, and angrily I vividly remember her face turning red and her eyes bulging out of her head. She was whispering in my ear. She's like, "Get upstairs, you fucking asshole." Again, not a crime. None of this is a crime to take someone's kid away. Like whispering in my ear, and she was attempting to get to go back upstairs, to go back and talk back to the master bedroom overlooking the first floor. And I was terribly scared of her reaction. I did not know what she was going to do, but she was clearly angry about something. At that point, I was scared, and she's gonna do I was scared of what she was going to do behind closed doors. On the way back upstairs, I whispered to my brother, I was like, I think I'm going to need your help. I don't know what is going to happen behind these closed doors. I don't know what it's going to do. But she is very upset. She is swearing, she is yelling, like there is a history of physical abuse, and I was scared of what she was going to do behind those closed doors. Mr. Elaine stated that once he and Officer Fitzsimmons returned to the bedroom, she again began yelling and expressing anger towards him. Mr. Elaine recalled continuously attempting to de-escalate and calm Officer Fitzsimmons down. Mr. Elaine stated he attempted to leave the room and Officer Fitzsimmons stepped in front of him to block his path. Mr. Lane's brother knocked on the door and requested Mr. Lane come downstairs to discuss the events of the night.
Okay, this right here sounds like the typical toxic relationship. Let me repeat that again. This is the typical toxic relationship. It's bad enough that these two even got together. It's worse that they got together and brought a baby into the world.
Next day, Mr. Lane stated he again attempted to leave, but Officer Fitzsimmons stepped in his way to block him from leaving. Mr. Lane told CIC that he continued to attempt to leave the room. He indicated Officer Fitzsimmons then made an implied threat of a false accusation of domestic violence to coerce him into staying into the room. Oftentimes, abusers will project and threaten to make it look like you're the abuser, make it look like you're the bad one, and they're the good one. And they can do this very, very easily because they've manipulated and gotten into your mind, and they know what you like and don't like, and they can do it. They're very crafty like that, and they're good at manipulating people. So it's very common for an abuser to be like, no, I'm the victim. They abused me. So keep that in mind. Mr. Lane says, I'm like, Kelsey, I'm not comfortable. I want to go downstairs. Like, I don't think we should be having a conversation right now. Like, you are not in the right state of mind. And she looks directly at me in the eyes and she goes, but why would you leave me? You just closed my fingers in the door. That's where I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that never happened. I can't with the likes. We were nowhere near a door. Like, why are you making this up? And at that point, I'm like, I need to leave this room. Like, I need to get out of here right now. Like, I think a lot of people, like, use the word like as a filler, and they, like, don't know what, like, to say, you know?
Okay, you're doing too much.
Officer Bennett says, were you concerned that she was fabricating something? Mr. Lane says, I have never in my entire life acted physically towards a woman in an aggressive or hostile manner. I have never laid my finger in any sort of aggressive, again, or hostile manner on another female. My own family would disown me and shame me out of the family. It's not how I was raised. You don't do that. You never do that, no matter the circumstances. It was directly after I had replied back to her, like, you are making this up. Like, what are you talking about?
Guys, if you watched my original 911 video, it was pretty popular. It got a lot of views. This one...
Mr. Lane told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons punched him in the face 3 times. Mr. Lane says, I see her with her right fist. She clenches it into a closed fist, and at that point, I look at her. I'm almost like, are you really about to do that? What I think you're about to do? And I'm in fear of Kelsey getting violent, which she has done in the past, and with a closed fist, she strikes me 3 times in the face. I did fear that she would not stop, and I was able to move around her. I did not touch a finger on her. I was able to quickly move around her. I was able to quickly open the door, and at that point, with the door open and my brother at the door, Kelsey grabs me by the arm, rips me back into the room as hard as she can, and I am just completely stunned at this point. I don't know what to say about this. Mr. Land left the house. His friend, Dave DeMasi, drove him to a motel and stayed overnight with him. Mr. Land told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons' punches left his nose in pain and slightly swollen. Additionally, he stated the corner of his eye was in pain. Mr. Lane stated that Officer Fitzsimmons' punches did not leave him with any severe bruising. Convenient. Mr. Lane stated his brother, Mr. Brendan Lane, witnessed Officer Fitzsimmons grabbing him. Mr. Lane stated that once others entered the vicinity, Officer Fitzsimmons grabbed her or changed her demeanor completely. She became very calm, denied punching Mr. Lane, and made statements that they were just talking. Well, if they were fighting during the night and someone walked by and you didn't want them to know you were fighting, you would probably change your demeanor, wouldn't you? That really isn't proof of anything. Anything that so far has been stated about this weekend, nothing makes me think she actually did anything physical to him. But would she? Possibly. It's possible. Maybe with her depression, potentially she could have gotten violent. I'm not saying she did. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards the side that she didn't, but it's more so Justin trying to overpower her with the courts. All right, so Mr. Land was told that Ms. Caruso, the bridesmaid, remember, went to retrieve his belongings from the master bedroom. He was told Ms. Caruso witnessed Officer Fitzsimmons going through his belongings. Ms. Elaine told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons stole his driver's license and debit card. Mr. Elaine ordered a new debit card and driver's license. Mr. Elaine was told by other guests that after he left, Officer Fitzsimmons physically assaulted several of their friends. Mr. Elaine was told that Officer Fitzsimmons threw a Stanley tumbler from a balcony at one of the bridesmaids. The Stanley tumbler did not make contact with the bridesmaid. Mr. Elaine was told that Officer Fitzsimmons eventually ran off into the woods and made statements over the phone about committing self-unaliving. So all of that is hearsay, and none of that it would be allowed in court unless somebody actually came and testified to seeing it and perceiving it with their own eyes and ears. This is all otherwise just hearsay. Mr. Lane stated in the early morning hours of June 29th, 2025, Officer Fitzsimmons' parents took custody of the baby. Mr. Lane told CIC that he spoke to Officer Fitzsimmons' father. He recalled expressing his fear for the baby's life. Mr. Lane says, I tried to explain to him that Kelsey was in a very unstable mindset and displaying actions where she should not have the baby, and I fear for both of their safety. So he actually goes and calls her father and says, your daughter's crazy, she shouldn't be around our kid, so you should keep the kid safe or something. I don't know. I absolutely feared for my son's safety. I did fear for Kate. I don't know who Kate is. Kelsey's safety as well, based on the actions that I had seen in the past. Mr. Lane told CIC that Officer Fitzsimmons was calling and messaging him statements about taking her own life and the baby. On June 29th, Mr. Lane stated he believed Officer Fitzsimmons was attempting to lure him to be alone with her. Huh? To lure him to be alone with her.
Rewriting your resume till the cows come home? Introducing Indeed Career Scout. Get your resume tailored instantly.
The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
To lure him to be alone with her. Okay. Okay. He believed that her plan was to kill him and the baby and then commit self-unaliving if he did not agree to stay in the relationship. He says,
Sounds
she, at
weird.
that point, she was constantly trying to manipulate me into coming over, having me come in the house alone. I stated several times I needed space to process the events, and I would not be doing that. I truly, truly believe, and I will show you all these messages. I have no doubt in my mind she was trying to lure me to that house, and if she found out that I was not coming back, that she was going to kill me, kill the son, can't even say my son, kill the son, and kill herself. I am beyond 100% certain that was her plan. Just because you say so doesn't make it fact. And then here you have Mr. Land did not turn the text messages over to CIC.
Why not?
So he did not turn over these messages that he's
Why
saying
not?
she was threatening him. Threatening to take the baby's life. So no evidence other than this guy's word, again, so far. Mr. Lane stated that Officer Fitzsimmons was increasingly unstable on June 29th. She accused Mr. Lane of still being in Maine so that he could cheat on her with her best friend. Mr. Lane FaceTimed Officer Fitzsimmons from his home in Stowe. I don't know how you say that, Stowe, which she is familiar with, and she continued to state that he was in Maine having an affair. Okay, even if that's true, again,
typical toxic relationship.
not worthy of taking someone's baby away from them. On June 29th, Mr. Land went to the North Andover house with his father. He told Officer Fitzsimmons that he was just coming by to retrieve some belongings because he feared what she would do if he told her that he was getting his firearms. Mr. Lane got a restraining order against Officer Fitzsimmons on June 30th, 2025. Mr. Lane explained numerous events and communications he had with Officer Fitzsimmons on June 29th and June 30th that made him believe his baby's life was in danger. He explained the events. He explained these communications, but he never shared them. He only said that they took place. He only said she was threatening the baby. And he warned Lieutenant Daly of the Andover Police Department, the North Andover Police Department. He called this jackass calls the lieutenant where she works at North Andover Police Department and says he warned him several times that he believed Officer Fitzsimmons would attempt to kill the baby, any officers involved, and then herself. So he called several times and warned this to the lieutenant who employs her. So there's a big conflict of interest there, right there, that it's his police station that's serving her, but also that this guy is calling. It doesn't make sense. Calling her boss and putting her in a bad light. And if he's repeatedly calling multiple times, maybe this guy believes it. Maybe he believed she was threatening the baby, when in reality she wasn't. But because Justin's a cruel, calculated asshole, he went and he decided, allegedly, he went and decided he was going to get in the ear of her boss and the officer who would have to, the person in charge of the station who would have to serve her. He actually did come. The Lieutenant Daly was present during the incident also. But yeah, so why is Justin calling
Yeah, why?
The lieutenant.
Why is he
He
fucking with
told
her
CIC
job?
that he warned Lieutenant Daly several times that he believed officer would attempt to kill the baby, any officers involved, and then herself. Elaine says she is not going to take this order lightly. She will not want to pass over that baby. Again, that baby, not my son. That baby. It's a that. It's a the son. It's a the baby. It's not my baby. She will look you in the eyes. She will kill you. She will kill herself, and she will kill that baby. It must have been 10 separate times where she was going back and forth based on her previous behavior and based on the behavior that she was showcasing in the past 2 days. She will look at you dead in the eyes, kill that baby, kill you without hesitation, and then she will kill herself. There's no doubt, no question in my mind. She has the power and ability to kill you. I literally cannot stress that enough. How many times we told them in many different ways she's prone to act erratically or irrationally, and she's more than capable of violence.
People waste 1,400 hours a year scrolling on their phones. With Purdue Global, you can turn that time into a...
That's quite intense for a new mom. But okay, that's what Justin says is the case. Continuing on June 30th, 2025, Mr. Land arrived at his house once North Andover officers had made contact with Officer Fitzsimmions. So once they came in, then he arrives at the house. He took custody of his baby after some resistance from Ms. Page. Not sure who Ms. Page is. He was standing on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Elaine went down to the basement to get a suitcase in order to pack some essentials for the time that she would be spending at his parents' house. Mr. Elaine told CIC there was not a firearms safe in the basement of the North Andover home. While walking towards the basement stairs, Mr. Elaine heard a voice yell out, "No, stop, don't do it." Mr. Elaine told CIC he then heard 3 gunshots, so he took off running from the house for safety. I began to walk back towards the house and to go back up towards the first floor, and I vividly heard an officer yell out, "No, stop, don't do it." And I vividly hear the "no, stop, don't do it." And then I hear what I believe to be 3 gunshots ring out, and I hear Kelsey's mom start frantically screaming. I immediately recognize what has happened. I recognize there was a shooting in the house. Someone most likely had been shot. My one priority was my son's safety right now, as he was 20 feet outside that house. So I immediately run from the vicinity of the stairs that led down to the basement to the garage, and I fumbled with the locking mechanism due to the darkness, and I was able to throw open the garage door, and I sprint around. Mr. Elaine told CIC that he fled the house and because he believed Officer Fitzsimmions would have shot him and the baby if given the opportunity. I fully believe at this point Kelsey was trying to kill those officers, and she was coming for me and my son, and her son. Sorry, her son. What? But coming for me and her son. I can't with this guy. His words give him away. He's calling it the baby. He's calling it a her son or that baby. He's not even saying it's my baby or our.
It sounds to me that he don't want nothing to do with the baby. I don't know why, but it seems like that he really that he only proposed to her out of obligation and not love.
Son. He does not even think of that baby as his. His words give him away. He doesn't even care about the baby in the sense that he doesn't claim the baby as his. He just wants the baby so that Kelsey can't have the baby, is what it seems like to me. I believe the entire time that was her plan to lure me back into the house. The text message, she was, I don't even know if she cared for the son at this point. Well, that's him projecting, because obviously she doesn't call it the son or someone else's son. She says it's my baby. But he says it's the son. I know she cared for me, having control and manipulation over me, but I have no doubt in my mind of the violence that she was capable of and what she would do to not only herself, but not caring about anybody else in that room or where she was, and she would shoot her way out and come for me and the child. No doubt about it in my mind. So at that point again, I ran to my truck. I was in my truck. I think he is so over the top with this because he has to make it believable that he's actually scared of her. But he's not. In reality. But he's got to make it seem like he's really afraid that she's going to harm him. So he's so over the top in his explanations here, which is why I don't find him believable. Yeah, I just don't. I'm trying to think back to when, I was getting out of my marriage and it was like this worst time, and I was always scared that he was coming after me. And
Ma'am, respectfully, this isn't about you.
yeah, I remember. So it's not going to be nearly as long. This was an official statement that Kelsey came out with. It was released July 17th, 2025 by her, or through her attorney, Tim Bradle, who was also Aiden Carney's attorney, Turtle Boy. So here is her statement. My name is Kelsey Fitzsimmions, and as I recover in my hospital bed, I am ready to speak about the incident that took place on June 30th, 2025 in my own home, where I almost lost my life. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression in March of 2025, approximately 3 weeks after giving birth to my beautiful baby boy. I have actively, my baby boy, mine, see, not just the baby. I gave birth to the baby boy. No, my beautiful baby boy, she calls him. She expresses ownership of that kid, not the baby over there, which is basically how Justin expresses his affection to the baby.
Your time is valuable. You could finish your degree faster and for less with eligible transfer credits at University of Phoenix.
Do you need a lawyer? Legal issues are complex, and while we all have access to plenty of information, misinformation can lead to bigger problems. That's why the South...
So she was diagnosed. I have actively been in treatment since the day of my diagnosis and was eager to heal and feel like myself again. Unfortunately, healing a sickness does not happen overnight. However, what can happen overnight is my life turning upside down into something so horrible my mind wouldn't even be able to imagine if it weren't my current reality. Someone who I thought understood my diagnosis, loved me in sickness and in health, and was in my corner for the journey of my active treatment to get better. So someone she thought believed in her and loved her and was with her all the steps of the way, turned their back on me. Said person is now legally bullying me to get what they want, slandering my character, and using my diagnosis against me to make me seem like I am a monster. There are more false accusations than I can even comment on. So all that stuff that Justin said in there, you can't believe any of it because we don't know what's true and what's not. So I don't believe him. I really do think that he was trying to make it up in the interview, trying to come up with what he was going to say about how horrible she is. And then throw in all the, well, I felt afraid and she was physically abusive. You have to get those words in there to make it count, right? To get the custody of the baby. He knew all the right things to say. She continues on. The deep love I have for my baby boy, sustains me and keeps me strong. I haven't spent more than a night away from him since I delivered him, and I adore every moment I spend with him. He's my best friend, my miracle, my little man, my sweet boy, and most importantly, a giant piece of my heart. Justin can't even call him my son. And she says all these things about her sweet, beautiful baby boy that she can't live without. Justin is weaponizing the judicial system. He's my best friend, miracle, sweet boy, most importantly, giant piece of my heart. Right now, that piece of my heart is missing when I need it the most. I am 5 months postpartum without my baby boy who needs me as much as I need him. I would never put that angel of a child in harm's way. My job as his mama is to protect him, and that is what I have always done and will continue to do for the rest of my life. Becoming a mother has always been my dream, and I never made any threats towards my baby.
Hey, go,
That allegation specifically makes me sick to my stomach. I was alone with my baby day in and day out for months caring for him, as my fiance frequently worked 24 to 48-hour shifts, but conveniently there were never any concerns up until now. She was alone with the baby all the time. Now all of a sudden that they break up, there's concerns. On June 30th, 2025, I received a phone call from my fiance to meet him at the park to go for a walk with our baby boy together. Our baby boy. Again, she claims ownership. After almost 3 hours of waiting for him at the park and no communication, so this jackass says, meet me at the park, and she waits for him for 3 hours and he never shows up. I went home very confused as he never showed up. About an hour later, I was sitting on my couch feeding my baby boy when I got a knock on my front door. Very confused to see 3 of my colleagues, I open the door and I am told the following. Your fiancé has filed a restraining order against you. He will be taking your son away with no contact allowed. Your firearms license that was just returned is gone again. And oh yeah, that career you worked so hard for and loved that you were just cleared to return to, that will be taken away too. When I say he tried to annihilate her and leave her with nothing, I mean it. I really do. He tried to take everything away from her. Following this interaction, I packed bags containing baby food, clothes, diaper, toys, etc. for my son to be taken away from me. I passed my son off to a fellow police officer and I went into my bedroom. In that horrible moment, I didn't want to live after my whole world.
Tired of sifting through jobs that don't feel like the right fit? Introducing Indeed Career Scout. Find the job that's right for you. If you're living with severe alopecia areata, it's time to grow out loud.
Moment I didn't want to live after my whole world was turned upside down in the matter of a 10-second conversation due to someone alleging horrific or horrible untrue things. We have a broken legal system where someone can walk into a courthouse, write anything that self-serves them on an affidavit, and as a result, a brand new mother suffering with postpartum depression gets her baby taken away. We are calling on the legislature and the governor to reform this abomination of a statute where the first person to get to court and fill out a form can take a mother's newborn away from her if they can sneak in front of the judge without the mother's notice or opportunity to be heard. If there is an immediate issue, someone can call 911. The courts are not equipped for proper on-the-spot decision-making in this context without hearing from both sides. The court is all about hearing both sides. So she has a great point right there.
Yeah, very messed up.
As a police officer, I am trained to know what to do if I encounter an individual who has ideations to take their own life, who is only displaying a threat to themselves. I certainly was not trained to shoot someone who had those ideations in the chest. And here I am today, 2 surgeries later, bedridden and trying really hard to heal from those significant injuries. I am facing felony charges for a half-hearted attempt to take my own life. Let me say that again. I am in trouble and have a gunshot wound to my chest because in that awful isolated moment, I no longer had the will to live. I never pointed my firearm at the officer. The officer was not just a colleague, he was my friend. That officer and I experienced a very difficult and sad call for service together last summer. That call for service that day was a true tragedy and caused this officer and I to build a friendship due to experiencing it together. We entered the home and walked into something no human being should ever see. A homicide, self-unaliving scene with a mother and her infant. As a rookie police officer, this was devastating to me. At the time, I was 20 weeks pregnant. The officer that shot me experienced this call with me. To this day, his support during that hard time is something I am still grateful for, regardless of this evidence issues and withheld discovery. So, the firearm. The magazine was removed, the round chambered. Apparently, Noonan heard a click and the wreck or whatever, he heard the sounds that meant, she was going to shoot. And immediately there were 2 shots fired to her chest. According to medical, her lung collapsed. She had broken ribs and other internal injuries. Like I said, her diaphragm and liver were also injured in the process. She was in the hospital for 53 days and had 2 surgeries and needs another one, but couldn't because she had the scram device on her ankle. The scram bracelet was put on her, or whatever. Is it an ankle? What is a scram device? I think it's an ankle thing, but you have to breathe into something. So whatever it is, you have to breathe into it. So maybe it's not a scram. I don't know, but I don't know how it works, but whatever it is, she has to breathe into it at certain times to make sure that, she was under strict, no alcohol provisions. So she has this scram bracelet, but in order to breathe into it, to do the testing, it hurts her lungs because, again, collapsed lung, broken ribs, internal injuries, diaphragm. Her diaphragm, the thing that you're supposed to breathe from. She can't breathe. And we have inconsistencies between the officers and what they say. So some people say that they heard 2 shots, some say 3. There were only 2 shots we know of. And we know that for a fact there were only 2, but you write in Justin's statement that he thought there were 3 shots. And of course there were no body cameras, which is a huge policy failure for her police department. And she pointed that out too in her statement. This is actually Patrick Noonan, Officer Noonan, who shot Kelsey. Witness statements and credibility gaps. Officer Noonan, Daly, and Houston were the other officers on the scene. All 3 officers testified consistently, stating that Kelsey pointed the gun at Officer Noonan and ignored repeated attempts or commands to drop the gun, and they heard that she racked the slide after they heard it click. So they hear it click, and then she wrecks the slide, whatever that means. I'm not a...
If you know me, you know that I love me a pair of sunnies, and I didn't realize how much I overthought what glasses go with which outfit until I found Midnight by Blenders. They go with everything. I no longer have to stress about what pair goes with what because these go with everything. Whether that's a little walk, a little brunch moment, maybe a workout, they fit and they match every outfit. So go pick yourself up a pair of Midnight Blenders.
Means I'm a gun enthusiast, but they understood that to mean that she was going to shoot someone. Noonan was the closest officer to Fitzsimmions at the time. He claimed the gun was directly aimed at him. He says it was directly aimed at him. He fired in self-defense after perceiving an imminent threat. This dude is Lieutenant Daly, just FYI, for you to see who he looks like. Witness statements and credibility gaps continued, key limitations and credibility issues. No officer had a full, unobstructed view of Kelsey at the time. Their positions were behind or to the side of Kelsey, so their testimony relies only on perception of hearing that click and hearing her wreck the slide. And also, you have to take into consideration rapid reaction rather than direct visual confirmation of the barrel's direction. So they might not have seen where she was actually pointing it. They just saw that she was holding a gun and fired. He fired too quickly. So the statements between the officers are pretty consistent in that she was firing at or attempting to fire at Noonan, apparently. But the defense argues that there's a potential bias in that. And of course, the quick self-defense ruling, they basically ruled that for themselves. They investigated themselves and found nothing wrong. They didn't even investigate, really. They just said, okay, it was self-defense. No body cameras to verify anything, so they can just cover it up. Justin withheld texts. We know that. He also withheld texts, not just about whatever it was. No, I can't remember what it was, but he withheld texts that had to do with self-harm threats.
And he should have been charged with that.
She was talking about harming herself. He withheld those because if she was talking about harming herself, then that's not consistent with her saying she's going to harm him and the baby, right? So he didn't turn over he misrepresented what the texts were, and he didn't turn them over.
Okay.
And the defense claims that that's a Brady violation. Also, there was no full phone records initially. So Justin is, what does that mean? No full phone records initially. They didn't have anything to investigate yet. When they decided to do this, or when they decided to charge her, they had not investigated anything yet. They didn't have phone records. And they also didn't know that Justin has a history of exaggerating the truth for his advantage. Again, the scram device, the non-compliance that was when she went, I have a whole timeline which we'll get into in just a second, but so the scram device that she's supposed to breathe into, she was actually compliant. So there was never an issue of her not being compliant, but the judge found her in non-compliance because Kelsey wanted a different way to be able to take those tests. And unfortunately, instead of giving her another option, the judge put her in prison, which we know. She just, like, out of nowhere, it was so shocking that she did that. Out of nowhere, she just threw Kelsey back in prison, revoked her bail, which is also leading now to delays in her trial. So police, prosecutorial, and judicial misconduct allegations. Police investigation was flawed. No body cameras during the investigation at all. Despite it being policy, they should have had body cameras on. There were conflicting warnings that were being shouted. So different people are saying different things. Some people say, Kelsey, don't do it. Some people saying that they heard her say, or that they heard someone say, no, stop, or drop the gun. So there's different variations of what was actually said.
Come on.
This is the biggest challenge with brands right now that have a performance marketing
of what was actually said at the time. And then with the whole quick self-defense, where they really didn't do any kind of investigation at all. There was no independent review. There was no investigation, really. They, in fact, made the decision to charge her even before any investigation was really done. So they made the ruling before the independent review. There was no forensic analysis, and they hadn't even collected eyewitness statements yet at this time, and they were charging her. So they did not investigate. They were just like, okay, we're going to take an officer who's been on the force for 20 years, we're going to take his word as opposed to Ricky Cop, right? And then for this 209A process, it's definitely problematic because, as you see, Justin could just go into a court and get an emergency custody, a temporary custody of the child, and take custody away from someone for no reason. He's using it as a weapon, clearly. So there should have been a hearing. They shouldn't have just been, the judge shouldn't have just been ordering to take the child away and to take her firearms away and everything, all without a hearing and without having her side of it.
Pretty much.
All right, next, the DA's office. So obviously this is an overreach. You shoot your officer and then you charge them with a crime? That seems a little excessive. So it's aggressive charging. Initially, it was assault with intent to murder, like we said, but then it was reduced to a deadly weapon. So why would they go so hard on that? I don't know, with the intent to murder. And then they also resisted the option for bail for her, despite the mental health context. They didn't want to give her bail. They wanted to imprison her. But eventually they did. She was still in the hospital when eventually they gave her back to, they allowed her to go back home. And public statements made by this Paul F. Tucker, the Essex County DA, he has made statements basically in support of the officers that day, not Fitzsimmions. He's called it an armed shooting, like she was trying, like she's the shooter. And basically he's been like praising, he praises Newton, oh, he's a 20-year vet on the force and we have all the faith in the world for him and blah, 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 blah. So he's backing Newton. And he's also saying things like, our officers have to deal with these tough situations and high stress and blah, blah, blah. So they're just acting on instinct and whatever. So basically, he's taking the cop's side, Newton's side. So judicial bias and delays, as I've already said, the one judge revoked her bail out of nowhere. It was stupid and she never should have done it. It was completely wrong. So June 30th, 2024, Kelsey shot. July 30th, she's charged. So that's 3 days later, she's already charged. So they did not investigate shit. They're like, okay, let's just charge her. And then we don't have to do any kind of investigation. And she can't come at us because now we're charging her. We're coming at her first. It almost seems that way, doesn't it? August 25th, charges are reduced by the grand jury. September 8th, sorry, this is 2025 now. September 8th, 2025, she was released on personal recognizance with strict conditions, 24/7 house arrest and the scram device where she had to do her alcohol breathing tests. So that was September 8th, she goes home. September 11th, her bail is revoked. So she was only out for a few days. And then the judge revoked her bail. This is the judge, Kathy McCarthy Nyman. It was wild to watch. We're not going to watch it, but it was just wild that she was just like, okay, well, I find that she's not, she has not met the requirements, so I'm going to revoke her bail, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we find out that she might have been having some ex parte or, you know, one-sided
Don't
conversations
speed
with...
this up.
Rewriting your resume till the cows come home?
Come on.
Introducing Indeed
Come on.
Career Scout. Get your resume tailored instantly.
You know, in life, and hopefully she gets to do that very soon. So the broader implications of this, the system is very flawed, like she says. So there are huge flaws in the 209A system where someone's able to just say, yeah, this person threatens me and hurts me, it hurts my baby, and I'm scared. And if you say all the right things, a judge is just going to give you custody of someone else's kid, or someone's kid, you know, give you custody when you're only doing it to hurt your partner or ex. So you can absolutely weaponize your battles with your exes and try to use the restraining orders in that way to take custody of your kid. I'm sorry, it's a kid, not your kid. The mental health stigma of postpartum depression. People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to admit that it's real. You're acted like you're insane or you're crazy or just emotional, irrational, whatever. I'm sorry, but no, that's not what it is. You have things going on in your head that you cannot control, and it's very evil for the system to make it a crime to have mental health issues. And that's really what they do. And if you notice, a lot of times mental health issues do come into play and they're not evaluated properly in the court of law very often. And then you also have the racial gender bias here that might be coming into play because Kelsey's a female officer and every other officer there was a male. And maybe they were just sticking together because they're men, and who knows, maybe there might be reverse dynamics in domestic abuse cases, like perhaps it's not unheard of for officers and people in positions of power like that to be domestic abusers also. So maybe they're helping each other out. Maybe they're buds. Maybe domestic abusers help one another out. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back type of thing. Maybe that's what's happening here. My take, why does this case matter? Because these false claims destroy lives. We need reform. Things like this should not happen. We need mandatory recordings from our officers, body cams. Those are, why do we have them if we're not going to use them? And we need to be able to have full discovery in these situations, but oftentimes things are being held back, or when you've got people in power, like it went up to the judge even, I think, that the cops are covering for one another, and now it's the judges are covering because now everyone's covering, and so it snowballs. And now, well, this person covered for this person, and now you got to cover for that person, and this person has to cover for that, and it just goes on and on. So everybody's scratching everybody's back, and the person who gets screwed is Kelsey, because she's not in that crowd. And then ties to, I have a series called Innocence Lost. So what gets me about wrongful convictions and everything is, like, even if you don't get convicted, the damage is done. Your reputation is screwed. And, like, let's say something comes out tomorrow and we discover that Brian Koberger was not the one who did the homicides at the Indiana University. Or Idaho University. A lot of people would be quite surprised because you have this bias in your mind that it's him. He did it. Because that's what the media wants you to think. That's what everybody, the news, the prosecutors, they all want you to think he's guilty. But what if something tomorrow came out and we have definitive proof that he was innocent? I'm not saying that it exists. I'm just saying, what if we did? Everybody has already destroyed his reputation, destroyed him, destroyed any kind of chance of him living a normal life. So, same with Kelsey. Same with any criminal defendant. When there's really no evidence and the state can just use the law against innocent people for no reason, why are we doing this? Why?
I'm still
Why do
here.
we
I'm
need
just
to
going
charge her
to get
for
ready to eat a
anything?
little bit.
It just doesn't make sense to me, and the bigger picture is people are covering for one another. It really seems that way to me. But the damage is done for Kelsey, whether she gets convicted or not. And I hope not. I really hope a jury can see through this, see through the Commonwealth's BS. So hopefully Kelsey does have the strength and the resilience to get through this and to fight back against the overreach of prosecution and misconduct here in this case. It is, I love this picture of her baby.
Every idea starts with excitement, but turning it into something real, too many steps.
Her baby. She looks so happy there. And that's what we need, is reunification. Next steps. So the next steps in the process are a preliminary hearing is scheduled for March 9th. Not exactly sure what they're going to be arguing. I think it might be... No, because I thought they were supposed to argue the motion to or no, maybe it was the motion to recuse Judge Kathy McCarthy Neiman. But the SJC eventually said, you know what, no problem, it's okay, even though she committed this egregious thing against you, we're just taking her off your case because she's got some other schedule coming up. So the SJC actually saved Kathy Neiman, McCarthy Neiman, from any kind of investigation into why she was talking to the probation officer. So this whole case just seems really sketchy to me. What do you guys think about this case? It's awful what they've done to her. I can't even imagine what she's going through being away from her baby for this long. And here you got Justin, who is like, that's the baby. And she's like, my beautiful baby, my sweet boy, my love, my everything, my sunshine, everything. He was her everything. And Justin's a jackass, in my opinion, for taking him away from her. So that's where that's my opinion. That's where I leave it. What do you guys think? It's really just awful, I think, what the courts are doing to her, although I think anymore, but who knows what she's going to get now. So we will see what comes up. The trial date, March 23rd. And so we've got this hearing and then trial date, and we shall see what happens. Hopefully she gets reunited with her son very soon. Thank you guys for watching. Please, as always, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget. Welcome to the Corruption Files Update. This is your quick hit on the latest filings, breaking news, or bombshell developments in the cases that we follow. No fluff, just the facts that you need right now. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Corruption Files. This is going to be an update on the Kelsey Fitzsimmions case. And while her charges are now gone, she is still looking for reunification with her son. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in that case. So let's begin. Let's do a quick recap here before we get into the new stuff. So like I said, Kelsey has been acquitted of the assault with a dangerous weapon charge that was on her against from the Commonwealth. So she fought that in a court of law with a bench trial, and the judge found her not guilty.
Great pride in doing projects yourself, and that independence is why you went to True Value. Nursery, huh? Try cerulean blue. I recommend bright.
Found her not guilty. So the criminal case is over officially. They can't charge her again, but she is still fighting for custody of her son with ex-fiance Justin Alayan. And her son Caden is now about 13 months old, 13 months old, and she last saw him when he was about 4 months old when the shooting incident happened, where she was trying to take her own life, and Officer Noonan shot her and in the chest. So she escaped death twice that day. But today we're going to be talking about some of the highlights from Justin Alayan's recent 38-page filing, where he's trying to basically reaffirm his stance on why he should have sole custody of Caden. And then we're also going to talk about yesterday's probate court. There was a hearing, Tuesday. Sorry, it was Tuesday. And so earlier this week, and we'll be discussing that. So, okay, so what this update will cover, this is going to be relatively short. We're going to keep it concise. I'm not going to read the 38-page document, even though it's pretty juicy. And members do get that document. If you are a member of my channel, you get all the documents that I talk about on these, including what I'm presenting to you here, the slides. So key points from his recent 38 filing, we're going to be talking about in this episode. We're going to be talking about the probate court hearing. We're going to be talking about Kelsey's reunification with Caden, the progress that she's making in that, and like I said, this is going to be just the highlights. So Justin Alayan's 38-page filing, basically, all right, so he is requesting that he continue to maintain his sole legal and physical guardianship custody of their 13-month-old son, Caden. This is essentially restricting Kelsey to only supervised visitations. So the main arguments in his 38-page filing was basically trying to paint Kelsey as an unfit parent. So some of the things that he said was that she's that he goes over numerous instances where he says Kelsey was allegedly physically assaulting him in situations where apparently she has a drinking problem as well, according to Justin. He says that she has a history of threatening to kill herself, Justin, and the baby. He describes an incident where she was pregnant and she held a knife to her stomach. He argues that she suffers from severe mental health issues, including something called antepartum psychosis, which is basically a very, how is he even capable of or qualified to diagnose her, first of all, but secondly, he puts this in his paper saying that she has this, or should have this diagnosis of antepartum psychosis, which is a very severe mental health disorder where it comes on at the onset of pregnancy, And it can be gradual, and then eventually you don't know your reality anymore, and you will need hospitalization. It's a very serious psychiatric health disorder, mental health disorder. And he's saying that she has this. With what proof? I don't know, but whatever. He, like I said, he alleges that she has a history of alcohol abuse, and consistently he names instances where she was drinking while caring for Caden. Not to mention, that he had over 200 instances of smoking pot that she found him outside on her premises, smoking weed or doing other things. But because he claims that she has a drinking problem, he's requesting a 14-panel hair follicle test to make sure that she stays sober, apparently. So major progress in the probate court did take place, though. So my dog skipped me way farther than I meant to go. So continuing on with Justin's ruling, there were a couple additional arguments that he made, which were that the child is thriving. He provided evidence from pediatricians and other early intervention specialists who were trying to, coordinate all this in the beginning, stating that the child is healthy, meets their developmental milestones, and has a healthy attachment to Justin. So that's what the pediatricians and specialists were saying, according to Justin. Medical decisions, he's claiming that Kelsey canceled a hernia surgery. He says it was a much needed hernia surgery for the baby, but she canceled it without consent, but he scheduled it without her consent, most likely. So I don't know how that works, but anyway, so she cancels this surgery, and then he argues that her canceling it was so that she could gain leverage in order to speak to him, despite the fact that he was so afraid of her, and that this, no contact order was in place or whatever. He's claiming it was her way of trying to manipulate him to talk to her or something, whatever. And then he's also asking for social media restrictions. He's requesting that both sides both parties are banned from posting anything about the child, and anything regarding, these proceedings and whatnot. And he cites the fact that Kelsey went, because it's a high-profile case and she had the criminal case, it becomes, this case becomes more high profile and people are interested, and now there's more eyes on the case. So he wants no interviews from Kelsey, especially after her post-verdict interviews, which there's nothing wrong with. Okay, yeah, I'm free. I just beat these charges by the state and I'm really excited to talk about that. And yet he doesn't want her to go and, talk about.
Granger knows that as an HVAC technician, the heat is on you every day. Your first call and all.
He doesn't want her to go and, talk about stuff on the podcasts and things. But she did do a Turtle Boy interview right after she was acquitted. I think he cited that. He cited some others that she was on. So he just wants her not to talk about the case, apparently. So this was Tuesday's custody hearing on the 14th of this week. So major progress in the probate court did take place. So it went from this really dramatic 38-page filing of Justin being extremely unrelenting, that Kelsey's dangerous, and she's so dangerous that his child can't be around Kelsey. But yet, on Tuesday, they came to an agreement. I don't know what happened. I don't know how, or, it's a good thing for Kelsey because she can now see her baby. So on Tuesday, they were in agreement, both sides. Kelsey and Justin agreed to modify the abuse prevention order that's in place. The no contact part of it has been vacated. So Kelsey is now allowed to have contact with both Caden and Justin. Her communication and visitation with Justin has been allowed again, so she can now visit Justin's home and work, although he's on admin leave since March 13th. But she can visit his work now. She had a stay-away order for that. And she can resume communication with Justin, especially when it's in coordinating, visitation and things like that. She's allowed to contact him. All right, so physical custody, though, remains with Justin temporarily until more time passes and more is evaluated. She must now turn in any firearms that she has as part of the agreement, so she has to relinquish those. What this means for reunification. She's obviously not going to be a cop again. She's no longer a North Andover police officer after they shot her and then protected the guy that shot her instead of protecting her. So I don't think we have to worry about the fact that she doesn't, she had to surrender her guns, but probably not that big of a deal to her, hopefully. It's not impacting her job at this point because she's no longer working there. So basically this week was a huge step forward for Kelsey. After nearly 10 months with no contact, she is now going to be able to be reunified with her son. And he's so little there, so I can't even imagine, he's going to look so different to her. It's going to be so insane for her at that moment. So the next court date that we have for Justin and Kelsey is going to be July 13th. They're going to review everything all over again. The abuse prevention order is still in place until then. The judge, Kelsey wanted an automatic expiration date of it, but both the judge said no and Justin's side said no. So they're going to check in at the next hearing and see where things lie, and maybe eventually that abuse prevention order can be dropped entirely. So Kelsey continues to fight for full reunification, and she's trying to expand her visitation. So right now it's supervised or whatever, but she's trying to, eventually get that to where she has him for days on end, hopefully. And I don't know why you would take a baby away from a mother so tragically and in such a horrific way and then defend it so blatantly, like he did nothing wrong. The no abuse order, like I said, is still in place, and she must surrender her firearms. So that's in effect, but like I said, it's going to be revisited July 13th, and it may even be dismissed at that time, hopefully for Kelsey's sake. So corruption files takeaway, ongoing fallout, and broader issues. Kelsey, her criminal acquittal, while that was a huge battle to fight while she was trying to get out of the charges, because she was obviously innocent, and the judge thought so too. Well, the judge couldn't determine that, he found that there was reasonable doubt, so that was enough.
The civil rights movement encompassed thousands of stories lived by real people across America.
He found that there was reasonable doubt, so that was enough. But her criminal acquittal alone didn't really help her in the custody battles yet so far. I mean, it may in the long run, and it probably will speed up the process, because if she had been convicted, obviously he would have used that against her to not allow her to ever see her child again, pretty much. That's basically what he wants. This case in particular highlights how restraining orders and custody fights can be used as weapons in these cases where there is a lot of tension between the two parties. It shows that the system is still moving slowly in regards to the reunification process, because it's nearly a year later and she still has not been reunified. Probably as of, the other day when court ended, she probably made plans immediately to see Caden. But and maybe she has already by now, I'm not sure, but at least we know that that is an option for her. So hopefully she gets better than just some lousy supervised visit sometime soon. My take on all of this is it's obviously a huge positive development for Kelsey and Caden, and the best thing for them is to be reunified, and whether or not she gains physical custody, even partial physical custody, at least her and Caden need to bond again. She lost all that time to bond with him. I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like, but I just know that it's detrimental to the development and the bond that a mother and a child share. And for them to deprive her of that is so heartless. Justin and his family, I'm saying them, they are so heartless to keep her away from her child for nearly a year. Her baby, her newborn baby. Anyways, so the fight continues in probate court. As I said, July 13th is the next date. Members, you will get, like I said, you can get the slides from this presentation, and you also will get, so I have a shared Google Drive that, or not shared, well, it is shared, but it's for members only. So the members can view the drive and see the different filings and things that I put in there. So for this particular episode, you're going to have this, and this presentation, and you're going to have the 38-page filing from Justin if you want to look at that. So that will be in my Google Drive. That's the insiders resources. And then finally, as a reminder, I have the Hometown Corruption Challenge going on, as I want to spread the wealth because corruption's everywhere. I want to let everybody know, and I want to represent other people's towns and things like that. I don't want to stick all to Massachusetts. So in order to represent other areas and find other cases that people may not have heard of, I think it's a great idea to start this hometown challenge. You tell me your city, your state, and I'll pick one at random, and I will try to select something close to that city and state and or country if you're international, and I will do my best at representing your area so that we can like I said, spread the wealth. Corruption is everywhere. It's not just Massachusetts, although Massachusetts seems to have a lot of it. But
Yeah,
we're going to
Massachusetts does have
expand
a lot of
and
it.
hopefully go nationwide. So thank you guys so much for watching. That is all I have for you. And I told you this one would be shorter, so that's good. Not too much to go over, but it is a good episode because she is going to be reunified if she hasn't already been.
All right. That's everything on Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Um, I hope I didn't bore you. I hope I didn't bore you. If I did, I'm sorry. But what happened to this woman by the legal system was outright unfair. Not only that, but it seems that you do have a quote unquote baby daddy who's using the legal system has a get back at this woman. Um, Again, thank y'all for being here. Like, share, subscribe. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.